Hi, everyone. It's Thursday, and I'm here all on my own today. Sam's feeling a little bit under the weather, so she's left me to be in charge of our Truro Famous live chat today. Roxy's here too. She's a little barky, and I can't put her on mute today, so she's going to be in the lap and popping her head up every once in a while, I'm sure. It is Thursday. It's the 21st of January already. We're pretty excited to have Brett Lauther on today. Of course, Truro famous football player, and we're just going to have a great chat with him. Before we get started, though, I wanted to do a plug for the Hugs campaign for hospice here in Truro. So today is National Hug Day, which is really kind of sad because we can't really hug anybody. So the next best thing to rewind. The next best thing to hugs is chocolate. And the Hospice Society has their Hugs campaign, which are, great little pieces of chocolate that look like a hug that you can send to people for Valentine's Day, or you can have in your business to share with your customers, or just buy for yourself because let's be real, we all need a little hug every once in a while. So I believe that orders are available to be placed until the 5th of February, but you can find out all of their information on their Facebook page or by giving them a call. Just look up on Facebook, the Hospice Society, and you'll be able to get all the information there. And of course, we're sharing it on our page as well. So just look back through the Local Love Truro page and you'll find the information. So before I keep babbling for too long, let's bring our guest on board all the way from North Dakota. Hi, Brett. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Michelle?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us. You're our furthest away guest thus far.
Thanks for having me.
So we were chatting a little bit before we got going. You're in North Dakota right now.
Yep. Currently down in Minot, North Dakota. Not much going on, and it was snowing a little bit earlier, but can't complain.
Yeah. So that's an interesting place to be in winter, I'm sure. They have very different winters than we do here in Truro.
Yeah, very dry, very cold, and obviously with all the political stuff going on and everything else, it's been different times for sure.
Exactly. So you just kind of hide in the house. You're saying stay away from the COVID and the conservative. Sorry.
Yeah, no, actually, down here, stayed away from the COVID, and then went home for the holidays for Christmas, just for a couple weeks, and I got COVID. So,
Oh no.
yeah, I'm over it. Besides, I'm going on about a month with no taste and smell, so it's pretty weird.
That's got to be the weirdest. Like that's when people start saying that. I joked I keep a candle next to my bed, so the first thing I do in the morning is like roll over. I'm like, okay, I can smell that. Everything's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've been sick before where you might lose like 10 or 20% of your taste or smell or something like that, and it's a little weird. But every day, just having a coffee or any food, it doesn't matter what it is, it just feels hot or cold. Tastes like it's
Oh,
it's starting to get a little bit more annoying than the first week or so.
I believe that. I believe that. There's no joy in it then, right? If you can't taste it.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to diet, which is what I should be doing right now anyways.
I can imagine. So you've been living in Saskatchewan for the past couple of years, yes?
Yeah, spending most of obviously the season 6 months out there, and then usually try to come home for Christmas and the holidays every year, and then see everyone, family, friends, try to get on the ice. And then last year I went back out to do some work with Red Cross and the team, and it kind of just all went up in smoke with the COVID. I just got rolling with everything and had a pretty crazy February with I was in Vegas, Montreal, and Saskatoon, and back in Nova Scotia. And then once I got rolling with all that, COVID kind of hit.
And that's got to be really frustrating as a professional athlete. It's not only does it affect your job, it affects your training, it affects like your entire life, basically.
Yeah, it was the timing of it was nuts too. It was my girlfriend's doing her master's down here, and it's kind of half the reason why I'm down here. It was a reading week, so we were going out to visit some of her family in Alberta, and we were heading out to her farm and stuff. And I only back for the week, and then we ended up getting stuck there for about 3 months with the COVID and all that. So it was different and challenging times, and kind of a tough year too I was the PA rep for the team. So I was like handling all that side, and it was just a crazy time trying to guide a bunch of the players and see what was going on with the season and just a number of things. So it was definitely a year to remember and also to forget.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like I'm good that we lived through it, but I don't need to do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
So you grew up here in Truro.
Yeah, born and raised. Played football at St. Mary's and then kind of got drafted out of there, and that was really the time
Sorry, my little puppy wanted to say hello, so I may have given her a little bit of a squeeze by accident there. Yeah, so you played at St. Mary's, and that must have been disappointing too this year because you were supposed to come home and play on your alumni field as a professional football player.
It would have been awesome. It would have been the first regular season game out there, and obviously, being from Nova Scotia, I feel like probably everyone in the stands that game I would have known or had been friends with her family, as so many tickets were bought through them. So that was unfortunate, and us hosting the Grey Cup and a number of other things. It was just obviously a year that there was a bunch of negatives, but I mean, there's not much you can change, and there's bigger things going on in the world. So you just got to stay positive and hoping for a bigger and better 2021.
Exactly. I think pretty much the entire town was looking forward to that game. I remember having, like I've mentioned, I work with your stepmom, Charlene, and she was just like, I remember her thinking in like May, oh, they're going to cancel it. I know they're going to cancel it. And then hoping that they wouldn't, and then realizing that, of course, they were going to, and how disappointing it was for your whole family, right? That they really wanted to see you play here.
Yeah, it would have been super cool. And then also just a little bit more disappointing. I mean, it kind of kiboshed the whole getting a team and stadium and stuff out there. And that's one of the biggest things, I think. Obviously, there's a whole other side to it from the political side with taxpayer and you name it. But I think one of the biggest things from growing up in the Maritimes and kind of knowing what a stadium like that can do, and it's not just for the football team out there. I mean, the football and all that, it's great, and that's where they're going to play. But just for youth sports, bringing out bigger concerts that they don't get because they can't fit in the Metro Center. Hosting, like in SAS this year, they hosted an NHL game that was a regular season game with Winnipeg and Calgary, and just seeing how cool those events are, I feel like people in the Maritimes don't really realize that like it's not just a football thing. It's something that needs to be done out there, and it keeps people out there. It's great for the economy. It boosts everything, and it's just one of the things I think out east that obviously the travel and how beautiful it is out there. It was one of the things I was really looking to show off to a lot of my American teammates or friends that haven't really been out there at all. So it did suck in the end, and I'm hoping someday, obviously, that gets done and they can get a team out there for a number of reasons.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a hot topic issue, of course, but the cities in Saskatchewan are not large cities either. Like the prairie provinces are fairly small and spread apart the same way we are here in the Maritimes. So seeing the impact that sort of facility has in Saskatchewan, you'd be able to speak to it of the benefit that it would have here in Nova Scotia as well. And we're so close to everything that nothing is for Halifax, right?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell most people too, is I was kind of calling like the Maritime team, like it was going to be a mini SAS. A lot of our fans, you'll see signs or talking to them after the games or online. It's like they like drove X amount of kilometers, hundreds and hundreds of kilometers for each home game because there's 9 a year. And just seeing how it's not, you know what I mean? We're not called the Regina Rough Riders. It's the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and it's because it's the whole province that supports it. And what we have behind the scenes, I think a lot of people don't really realize what we have. The Jets and the Flames played in there. They left notes in our lockers just saying it was the best sports facility that they've ever been in. And I mean, obviously they play in NHL rinks, and just what we have, like I said, that the fans or anyone doesn't really get to see. It's pretty cool. And I think obviously getting a stadium out there, like you said, it's a super hot topic, and there's a lot of positives and negatives about it. But it's just something, in my opinion, whether I'm playing football or not, I think it would be huge for the province and for sports out there.
Mm-hmm. And of course, our natural instinct as Maritimers, I guess, is to go to the money aspect. But we're also growing at such a great rate. Like when you look at, especially, well, places like Truro, what it was like. I mean, for you growing up, much less me growing up, is a very different town now than it was then, right? So I think we're getting to the point. Hopefully, who knows? Who knows what the next few years will bring? Hopefully, we'll get to see you play here for sure.
Every time I come home, there's really just like a couple big changes, and it's just like what's new or the new area or what's going on in Truro. And then when you drive down into Halifax, it's like it's extended out more and more and more every time I go down. And then the third thing, just my little sister, seeing how big she is every time I come home. It's crazy how much she grows so fast.
And now you have puppies to see how much they grow as well. Just getting puppies this year. That's why I see pictures posted on Facebook all the time. I'm like, of course, I have a Chihuahua, so the puppies were the size of my dog 5 days after they were born. So they're beautiful.
Yeah, I was around Tucker and Maya for about the first month, and they were awesome and still growing fast then. And then now every time I call back home or FaceTime or get a picture, I mean, it's like they put on 10 or 20 more pounds. So it's crazy.
Exactly. So you must have played at CEC.
Yep, that's kind of where it all started in grade 10. A lot of people think I played minor football, and I didn't, which is
No.
so yeah. Every time I go back home, they ask about Blue Bombers or Freightliners, and I didn't really play football growing up, and just kind of got into it in grade 10. Just kind of lucky thing, I guess.
Yeah. So have you always been a kicker, or have you moved around? I know that you were in the CFL before and then you went back. What was kind of your journey to get there?
Yeah. So my first year, to be honest, with football, I didn't really watch it much, and I had no clue what was going on at all. I didn't know the positions. I didn't really know anything, and I went out and just kind of Justin Polarity had just graduated at the time, and he was like a big name that did a lot of things for the school there, and then on to St. Mary's in the CFL as well. And they were kind of looking for a guy, and I was like, well, I can probably do it. I played a little bit of soccer and hockey before that. So I went out, and went home that day, and yeah, they told me, they're like, yeah, you're going to be our kicker. And I remember going home and telling my dad, and he just started laughing, and then he was pumped I was playing football. And then the next year I kind of learned a lot about it and came back and played receiver too, and ended up winning all-star at that. And then in my grade 12 year, I played like a little bit of quarterback, receiver, and on the defense, and was lucky enough to know Scotty Annan, who was a teacher there at the time, and he took me down to some recruiting visits to St. Mary's, and I ended up going there for school. And my whole first year, I just played receiver. I didn't even kick. So going back the next year, it was kind of the same deal. Justin had been drafted to the CFL, and they brought in some guys to do it. And I don't think they were really happy with too many of them. And I was like, I could still probably do it, and ended up kicking more full time. And then they were kind of on me about maybe taking it more serious, because I was still playing junior hockey and stuff too. So it was kind of a lot at once. When football season would end, I would go play junior hockey, and you're traveling around the province, but then trying to juggle school, and you still have football priorities as well. So I kind of look back now, and I laugh sometimes. So I'm like, I don't know how I did it. Like, I don't think I could do it now. I'm a lot more lazy, I feel like. But yeah, then my last year, I was lucky enough to get drafted to Hamilton, and spent a couple years there, and got to play a few games, and met a lot of great people that, I mean, are still in my corner, and good friends that have helped me along the way. And had a few years off where I was trying to get back in the league, but thought I was good enough to play, but was just home kind of working with my cousin or doing whatever I could to make ends meet. And then got lucky enough that in 2018, Scotty Annan was back out in Saskatchewan, and I had known some of those coaches from before, and they asked me to come out to training camp, and ended up winning the job and having a pretty good year and a fun season. And it was pretty surreal that even thinking about it now, that it got to happen after that many years off, and got to play again the next year. And then kind of the COVID year, which sucked because I felt like I had enough of not playing. So
yeah, then you had your momentum going, right?
yeah, so I'm just hoping now the CFL gets up and running again, or all sports or everything in life, I guess, just gets a little bit more normal this year for everyone. And I'm sure entertainment and travel and all that stuff will be the booming businesses as soon as everything gets going again.
Oh, I think so. That everybody's going to want to go anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere but where you're from, pretty much.
Exactly. I was like, right now, I'd just like to go to Moncton. That would be great.
Yeah, it's crazy going back to Alberta or anywhere now, because I mean Nova Scotia has been in the Maritimes has been so locked down for a while with that, and now those provinces caught up with just strict rules. And even when we went home for Christmas, it wasn't, you couldn't go to a friend's house, you couldn't travel out of province, you couldn't do this and that. And I mean, obviously for good reason, but it just still at the same time, it sucks. People aren't going to get these months, days, or years back in their lives, but also there's a lot of people dying. So obviously there's a real reason why.
And I know that here, in Nova Scotia, we've had an amount of frustration because it's been so long, but we had 2 cases today, right? So it does ultimately pay off, because Alberta gets a little scary too, right? And when you look at the numbers coming from Quebec and Ontario and Alberta, you're just like, oh, I mean, different populations, they're more smushed together, larger populations, of course, but it's I know that everybody who's here, even if we complain about it, because God knows we do, we're thankful for it, right? We live in a place where we don't have to be scared all the time. We're worried about it. And when we have a spike to like 11 cases, we get worried.
It's funny to see the number differences. And I mean, obviously it's a huge population thing, and I feel bad for, I think the Maritimes are lucky. I feel bad after being in a lot of other places where it's like, there's not much you can do in like a Calgary, like there's so many people in such a small area that for the government, it's really tough. I think they're doing everything they can, and everyone's doing a great job in Canada. And I can really appreciate it a lot more after being down in the States, where there's people with shirts on just saying like COVID isn't real, or you know what I mean. And like 30 or 40% of the population in North Dakota had it at one point, and there's people that dying. And I mean, I'm lucky enough that I didn't even feel like I had a cold besides the taste or smell thing. But I know there's a lot of people that are a lot older in different situations where it affects you a lot different. It just kind of, I'm just going to be happy when I don't have to talk or hear anything more about it, or about the numbers or daily whatever. I shut that off a little bit.
I'll be okay with that too. I don't need to know numbers. We have a couple of comments. Janice Bonnell says hello, Brett.
Yeah, my aunt. Yeah.
And Faye Lauther says hi, love and miss you.
I mean, biggest supporters are always there. So
of course,
great family, and the support. It's always awesome.
Yeah, and I know. I remember seeing pictures from when your family went out to Regina to see you play, and the girls went, and Charlene had her nails all done in reverse colors and the whole shebang. And I'm like, I don't think there's a prouder family, honest to God.
Yeah.
We're so proud of you.
It's over the top a little bit sometimes, but I do love it. And the way they were dressed and everything out there, if anyone ever came out, they would have looked out of place if they weren't dressed like that, with the Rider fans and
I suppose
everything, the party in the park. So that's one thing too. I'm super excited because my first year, no one got to really come out or get out for games. They went to games out east, obviously in Ontario and Quebec, but it's obviously, to make any game, it's quite the travel for them. But I really wanted them to come to a home game before I was done, just to see what it's like. And what I say is, like, real football, like our games are always sold out and 30 some thousand people, and it gets pretty loud. It's hard to explain unless you actually get to go to one.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic. Well, I mean, football's a whole different culture, right? It's not only in Canada, but when you look at American football, and you go to universities with the gigantic like stadiums that are even bigger than CFL stadiums, which that's incredible. Like,
yeah, I couldn't imagine like some of the teammates I have. It's like they're playing at a smaller scale coming to the CFL. Like they played in front of 100,000 in college and then 80 or 90 in the NFL, and then you come play some CFL games. And I mean, not every team gets as many fans as us, so it's a little different for them. Where I had like the opposite spectrum. I've like, yeah, we had some family or maybe a couple friends at some high school games, you know, like a couple hundred people. And then in university, it's like, oh, that was sweet. Like we had a couple thousand at a bowl game or something. And then you play preseason games in the NFL or the CFL, and it's like 10,000, 15. And then you play a game in Saskatchewan or get to see a Grey Cup my first 2 years in Saskatchewan and BC. It's like BC place sold. It's so loud and there's like 50,000 people. It's pretty incredible.
That's incredible. Yeah, because when you say CEC, the one strip of bleachers.
Yeah.
Remember sitting out when I was in high school, and then I went to St. Evac, so it had kind of a similar setup to St. Mary's in terms of the stands at that time, and they were never full. So,
yeah. But don't get me wrong. I mean, the CFL and other leagues at this level, it's a business, and it's always going to be a business first. And when I was playing high school with just buddies that you grew up with, and this is what you have. There's no recruiting or money, or that's when that, you know what I mean? That's when you had the most fun. You could just, you're out in the mud, in the grass, and playing football with your friends. And I mean, you get up to this level, and it's sometimes people take it for granted, or there's a lot of prima donnas you run into. And I mean, it's a different game, that's for sure. It's more of a business at the higher level.
for sure. I have a great memory of, I mean, I graduated in 92, so it was a long time ago. But in my grade 12 year, we were playing Halifax West at the SMU field, and it poured rain. I mean, like we were a little bit sheltered, but the players were just soaked, and oh, it was horrible. And we did lose because it was Halifax West, and they were a huge team. But they were doing it for the love of it, and we were there because we loved watching it. And you know, it's a completely different kind of situation.
Yeah, that's the Nova Scotia weather game there. I don't think there was many games we weren't playing in the clouds or the rain or something like that.
Exactly. But we were talking before we came on too about the difference between, you know, fall in Nova Scotia versus fall in Saskatchewan, and playing in November there versus playing in November here is a little bit of a different deal.
No, TV doesn't do it justice either. I mean, some days it looks so clear, but it's, you know, it's minus whatever and then minus whatever more with the wind chill that day. And yeah, especially doing what I do, it's like you can just stand on the sideline for hours and then you're just expected to run and win the game or score some points. So it's taking some time to get a routine down to make sure you're ready to go out at any time. But I mean, the fall out there is a lot different than Nova Scotia. It's like one day it's summer and you walk out the next in flip flops and a t-shirt and you turn right back around because it's like minus 20. So it's pretty.
Yeah. Did they get the like
Chinooks?
It's like they do, like they do in Alberta. Do they come all the way over?
I don't think so. It's more of like a Alberta thing for sure. Haven't really ever noticed any out there. It's just gets to the point it's so cold you just don't even know how cold it is anymore.
That's when we start saying it's a dry cold. It's not as bad as a wet cold.
That's false. It's all cold.
Cold is cold, right? Yeah. It's not great. So what are your, I mean, I know it's hard to kind of predict. I made a joke to somebody about planning. I stopped planning for 2021. I'm just doing it week by week, figuring that out. I have a joke that, of course, I've worked with English Jewelers for quite some time, and we had a plan for their 25th anniversary, and then we had the flood, and that all those plans went down the drain. So I learned not to plan then, and then last year kind of underlined that. But 2021, optimal, the way you want to see it go, what's it going to look like for you?
Yeah, I think I'm on the week to week path, but also just me and my girlfriend have done like some vision boards and other stuff that we want to happen and try to, I guess, make things happen. And for me, I've spoken to the team and kind of the riders and let them know what I'm going to do. And I have some plans for in March to go to some NFL free agent camps just to see how those go. And I'll have to reevaluate after that. I mean, you can go great, and you never know. Maybe you're signing with a team, or it could go okay, and you're kind of like on the fence about what you want to do. And then also for me, I don't know if the CFL is going to play, so I didn't want to lock back into a deal where we're not playing football again, and I'm training and waiting week to week, and you can't work, and there's a number of things that play into it. But I think
a lot of you must be in the same boat with that.
Yeah, ideally, obviously, like I'd love to get a shot to play in the NFL. I've put a lot of time, effort, money the past few months to get a chance. But I mean, if that doesn't work out, it's definitely not a plan B for me to go back to the CFL. I mean, I'm kind of living out the dream a little bit right now, and like I said, not taking it for granted at all. So going back and getting to play a full CFL season and trying to win a Grey Cup, I feel like we definitely have unfinished business in Saskatchewan with how good we were that year when we lost in the West Final, and built on that from the year before. And I mean, we got a great roster, great team up and down. So obviously going back and trying to win a Grey Cup would be great too. So I'm just hoping that in one capacity or another, we get to play football this year. And for me, I just think we got on the vision board too, just about like the border opening back up and just hoping things go back to normal for everyone. I think everyone's obviously pretty fed up with what's going on and how long it's been too. So hopefully the vaccines and all that just go out, and I mean, we can get back to normal by the fall is what they're saying now. And I just hope there's no delays on anything like that.
Yeah. I hope so too. That's, like you said, as you're looking forward through the year, it's like, let's get to September, and then maybe next Christmas will be normal. Right?
And those are probably going to be crazy times if everything gets back to normal. I mean, everyone, like we said, is going to want to do whatever. But I've been pretty fortunate too with just like friends, family, staying in the loop with me down here, and just talking to them online, or whether we get like some friends together for a poker game once a week, and they all call on FaceTime or Snapchat or something where I can talk to them. And so it's just like, I guess, being tired of stuck in a house and not being able to do much. So hopefully that's what 2021 holds, is just stuff getting back to normal.
Yeah, I think it's hard to see a lot of places where, I have friends who live in California. So of course they're in a pretty strict lockdown themselves, but they can go outside, where, you're in a northern area. We're in a northern area. We don't have that joy of being, I think once that summer ended and that ability to kind of extend our homes into the outdoors stopped, that's when it hit a lot of us. It's like, oh God, I just my living room all the time.
No, I agree 100%. I got to go down to California in October, and one of my good buddies, John Ryan, who plays on our team, he's always just kind of sending pictures in the group chat of his like backyard where it's 30 degrees right now in the pool. And it's like, I mean, I feel like you can handle that a lot easier than minus whatever in the snow and shoveling and doing this and that. So they're definitely lucky down there.
Exactly. So true. So we chatted for a second before you came on, of course, that when you are home, you play some pickup hockey with Sam's husband, Joey. One of our standard questions when we have people on these is one of our local of Truro awards is the most loved place to show off Truro. Sorry, my brain is going faster than my mouth. So when you are home, what's your most loved place to show off Truro? If you were bringing a teammate home with you, what would you want to show them?
I think it's probably pretty easy for me. I just want to take them up to Victoria Park. I just feel like that's like my favorite place, whether I'm going up there to train to run Jacob's Ladder. And I spent the month or so when I was home, I was training some of my sister's hockey team and some other kids, taking them up there and just kind of showing them what I do. And just going up through there, it's almost surreal sometimes. It's something like that's in Truro. It's a cool area with the waterfalls, and you can get some good hikes going up in there. And obviously there's a number of spots like the tidal bores coming in and a number of other things like that. But I think for me, I'd have to take them up to the park for sure.
I have to agree. It's even this time of year. It's icy, but it's gorgeous, right? It's one of those
I'm up there too as a kid, just going up to the pool with a couple dollars when I was younger. And I mean, floating down that stream kind of leads down to my place that runs through there. So
That's true. Yeah.
yeah, we were always biking and doing everything up in there. I spent a lot of time as a kid and growing up and everything.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I want to, we're a little shorter than usual because I don't have Sam to rely on to ask half the question. We really appreciate you taking the time and joining us today, Brett. We're really happy you could do it, and I hope you have a great 2021. Hope to see you on the field at some point, and be sure to say, well, I'll see Charlene before you see her. So
tell her I said hi.
I will, for sure.
Thanks for having me again.
Thanks very much, Brett. And we'll be back next week, next Thursday, I believe at 2:00. And we're going to have Ian Stewart joining us, who is our local juggler of various things that have motors and flames, and has a number of world records under his belt. So he'll be joining us. I don't know if he's going to be doing anything crazy, but we'll see how it goes. So we'll see you next week, everybody. Have a great week. Bye.